Hello and welcome everyone. Let's do a little AI in action in the Chipp Builder Series. We're so excited to have one of our power users who left Finland to find the sun and also found AI along the way. Maaria Tiensivu is the founder and the lead at the4languages.com as well as no-me.co.uk. And what I love is that she helps augment human skills with AI. And we're so excited to have you join today and also use Chipp. So welcome, Maaria.
Thank you. I'm super excited and I absolutely love using AI and Chipp specifically, which
That's
is
amazing.
direct line projects as well as in the 4 languages for all of our tools.
Yeah, well, we love sending people who are interested in AI your way because I think you make it really approachable. And so tell me a little bit first about how you think about it for your own company. Because what I love is like, you're not just building stuff, you're actually doing this in your own kind of consultancy. So walk us through how that started and how you think about it just at a high level.
Yeah, so I think like the two kind of sides of my background. So I'm a transformational coach. That was later, and originally I come from a service design background. And I know service design is not like something that people necessarily know, but it's essentially like tool agnostic design. So that's why I call it. So it's like going in with the problem or the challenge that your product or whatever idea you might have first, and then finding out the right tools to achieve that outcome. So AI is just one of the tools. Human interaction is one. You might have even like a concrete store somewhere. It's not about replacing those touch points, but it's finding the places where AI actually makes the biggest difference. So that's really how we work with our clients as well. First, we figure out like where does AI actually support the product delivery or clients or your internal processes instead of just shoving it everywhere without questioning if it makes any sense or not.
That's amazing. So you've probably tried it or considered it in different places along, say, a sales pipeline or a workflow. So what are sort of the low hanging fruit, as it were? Like this is where people are like, aha, this actually works. And I can see why I might want to use it in other ways.
Yeah, I think one of the most surprising ways to use AI is actually to go deeper. So actually in the coaching space, in the reflection space, so like making yourself better, understanding more about yourself. I've started using it a bit more in like actually coding, which I understand is not necessarily as easy as it sounds, but as a kind of like UX and as a designer who's worked with tech companies most of my design career, it's really about like becoming better at what you do, if that makes sense. Not just like using it as Google and, getting answers that might or might not be correct, but it's like how do you enhance the expertise that you have? I think that's the use case that not enough people use AI for, like becoming better at what you do instead of just automating
I love
the stuff.
that. Yeah. And I think it's like the opposite of what we learn in school, which is like you have to be a B at everything. And I think when you get in the real world, you're like, actually, it's way better if I'm A at one thing and rather than trying to get average or above average. And I've seen some research papers on that with AI. Is actually it's one of the few technologies that older people are better at because they have the expertise and the language to speak to it. And I
Yeah.
think that's such a good reminder that how do you become a better designer or coder
Right.
using AI rather than becoming
Yeah.
an average coder and you've never done it before or something like that.
Yeah. And you can obviously use it for the other stuff, the automations, all of that. Like that's not out of the question. But I think that's something that people kind of expect, whereas they don't necessarily see the value in like actually growing as a person, like as a
Yeah,
human in your skills, not just kind of handing it over and outsourcing.
that's great. Well, let's have you show us a little bit about how, maybe you are using AI or one of your clients if you want to show that and just walk us through kind of a use case or two and would love to see kind of what works. And people can always reach out to you to ask more questions and get more information. So you can dive in and share your screen and show us what you do.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, most things are behind NDAs, so I can't really show the client work. But our core team consists of myself and my partner, who is a lawyer. So we have this like kind of a bizarro but natural duet of working with a lot of coaching and going deeper into that space. So helping people grow, as well as law related items, which I don't really mess with because again, I am not an expert, so I can't judge the outcomes that come. But let me start here. So I will show this because this is the baby that's very beautiful and I absolutely love this. So this is kind of like the testing area for all of the 4 languages tools. And the reason I really love this and I love Chip for this is that you can obviously like create this whole experience that looks amazing. It does what it needs to do. And you can kind of like combine all of those things in here. And then when I work with, for example, because I still work with deep coaching, so one-to-one and kind of like group coaching as well. Then you can obviously move into the kind of like full screen space as well. Here's my daily planner that you got a glimpse of. So what I would love to show here is just kind of really like looking at the different things that you can do when it comes to like actual coaching. So the four languages is a really kind of comprehensive framework of approaching growth through the mind, the heart, the body, and the soul. So everything about these AI guides or sessions or whatever you want to call them is very much trained in the framework on the background. But the beauty of the tools themselves is that the output is defined, but the steps to get there are very much personalized. So the difference between using Chipp, for example, or using AI to do these types of coaching sessions is that it is 100% personalized every single time to the user or the person going through it. So I'll just give like a quick overview. So these tools, there's always like for people who already know what they want, they know where to start, and that's the journey they take. And then there's the option of kind of like guided reflection. There's like going with the flow, different options for exploring yourself through the AI and with the AI.
Consulting with this, right? Because this kind of blends in with what you do interpersonally. So it's not replacing a consultant, but
No.
augmenting, would you say?
Yeah, it enhances it in some ways. So the way that, for example, my clients use these tools is because they are daily tools when it comes to the four languages. So the Clarity Planner, I have members of the community who use it multiple times a day to plan their days and to get the experiments. So this is very key for the four languages. So everything comes out as practical experiments that you put into work in your real life, right? So it's not like I'm interacting with AI and I stay within AI. All of these tools really connect you into your real life experience or your lived experience. So that's the difference. And I think that's one of the key things I really love about using AI. I'm also working with another coach to turn their framework into this, is that you can really give that 100% personalized experience while what your AI does is it guides the person through the actual necessary steps, but giving them full freedom to explore what's meaningful for them instead of me deciding what's meaningful for you, right? So that's really beautiful, and that's something that I really love love about these tools. Let's see
Yeah,
what
that's amazing. Well, and the design is incredible. I think obviously we've talked a little bit about, the way you think about products is so different than a lot of developers. And so I'm curious if using AI, how you kind of think about designing. Obviously, this is very beautiful looking, but even just like
yeah.
the actual flow of like when to insert AI, this is a good place because of what? Like, what is kind of that point of exploration of something else?
Yeah, for sure. When you're starting or when you're working with AI and Chipp, for example, as you can see, the formatting is very specific. And this is what I love and what is really different about working with AI. You can guide it and you can instruct it to work in specific ways, but it is kind of a living being. And if you approach building with AI the same way you approach like typical digital products where you build something and that's the experience, that's it. AI is slightly different. Guide it to do certain things and to have like a certain tone of voice, obviously, and even how it looks. But it's like a person in that sense that you can train an assistant or your colleague to do something, but they will do it their way and they will not do it the same way every time. And that's what I love about using AI mindfully with that intention. Instead of trying to force it to be a digital product that's always the same, actually focusing on training it in a way that it uses that beautiful flow, dynamic nature that it has. Because otherwise I would just do I could just build a survey that's always the same. So I wouldn't actually be using AI for what it's really good for, which is to personalize, to be always different. Every time you go back, it's slightly different. I find that really nice.
How do you think about like with Chip, you can look at the chats if you choose. And how do you think about as a consultant using this data, if any, to help your personal practice?
I definitely do that. But all of our four languages chats are anonymous.
Yeah.
And that for a reason, because I don't need to know who it is. There's no need for me to kind of like tag people into what they're doing. What we really want to achieve is to give an anonymous space for people to explore and go deeper into what they want to explore, right? And that can be easier with anonymous tools. It's kind of crazy, especially with this framework. I'm just going to talk about four languages because it's quite different from other AI use cases. What I noticed when I was going through the chats in the beginning is I knew that these people were from kind of like an older generation, nothing to do with holistic well-being or growth. And these are the people that also really benefit from the four languages that we work with. We don't work with people who are already in the kind of holistic, growth space, but rather people who've never really thought about it. And I remember this one quote, like specifically from an anonymous chat, where it was talking about the heart, or the AI was asking about the heart. And the person was like, but I don't really know how it feels. Like, I don't know, like, what is the heart? And imagine that question, like someone going into a coaching session, they would never ask that. They would think that it's stupid, or they might feel ashamed or whatever. But with the AI, there's a safe space to actually explore your true experience without judgments. And I think that's just so powerful.
Yeah.
I myself goosebumps because that was so powerful, because it was such an honest, vulnerable question that I know that even though my coaching is very vulnerable, I would never get there. Like, no one would
Yeah.
necessarily share that in a session.
I even see that with my young children, if they're using AI, we'll do audio and they're
Mm.
asking things I don't think they would ask me, right? Because it's okay to be like, what's that mean? What is this word? Or like, what is a bully? Like they can ask these things that maybe they've already learned they should not bother us with, right? Because it seems too
Yeah,
obvious, even though they don't know it. So that's fascinating. Yeah.
exactly.
Tell me real quick about Know Me and kind of that flow of how it works. And if you have a project or anything you want to show, that'd
Yeah.
be great. But even just talking through kind of
Yeah.
what you do with somebody.
Yeah, so I can't really share the tools, unfortunately, because they're behind an NDA. But one of the very different tools that we built that I was absolutely amazed by was actually a financial planner,
Mm.
which was something I know we worked with you to kind of optimize the PDF inputs, and all the banks and Excels and everything's different for everyone. But one of the crazy things with AI, again, to enhance human potential, is that you can actually shove like your statements into it, and you can ask it to make sense of it, to show trends. But again, the output is key. Like, that's what I find with all of our client projects. You need to actually be really careful and mindful about what is useful output. What is the like user-friendly, customer-friendly way? What is needed? Like, what is that person who goes into that tool? What do they want? They want to understand something that is way too complex for them to understand with human brains, right? So it's like when people kind of like tend to see trained assistants as like, well, can I just not go to GPT? You can, but that hasn't been trained to give you usable and actually meaningful output in that specific space. And honestly, training and trying out and testing that financial planner, I never had such a great understanding of my financials. Like, the stuff that came out was just crazy. It
Yeah.
really transforms the way that you can access data that is quite complex. And I'm not a financial planning person in any way. So it was really interesting to take that really niche, techie, expertise based field and turn it into something that a human can actually work with. And again, all the tools we create, there's always an actionable output. There's something that should be done in the real world after using that tool, right? There should be a change that happens instead of just going there and like, nice to know.
Well, I think that's such a great way to kind of close on that idea of like AI action is not
Yeah.
just having AI take action, it's preparing a human to take action and removing blockers. And I think for a lot of us, myself was included, like, yeah, looking
Mm.
at the financial statements or the transactions, like it's kind of a downer and I'm going to just put it off. But when you're
Yeah,
able to just throw it at the AI and then have it spit back the way you want to process it, yeah, you're
exactly.
basically creating personal software without being a developer.
Exactly. The really important part of the like design background, like everything I do is aimed at making sense for the person using it. It needs to bring value. It needs to make sense and do something to help that person. And very often the people don't know that themselves because we're not experts in everything, right? So there's I guess the difference between like just using the kind of general models versus using something that has been trained by someone who not only understand the content, but the way that you can actually put it into action, take action, change a behavior, change something about the life that you live. Right.
That's amazing. Well, kudos to you to helping people change the lives that they're living and their businesses. And you're doing it in so many interesting ways with, legal assistance and,
Yeah.
consulting and whole wellness. So amazing to see your use cases. Thanks for sharing those. And if you
Yeah.
want to get in touch, you can find her on LinkedIn or you can go to the four languages or know-me.co.uk. And we look
Cool.
forward to seeing what you build. Maaria, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, super open to chatting with people about this stuff. Love it.
Great. All right.